building the team. Obviously, you have a sole agent, you have a SEAL team like we talked about, you have assistants, multi-agent state teams, transaction control, buyable agents, should be buyer's agents, listing agents, a marketing department, contract agents, field agents, receptionists. Those are all different things you can have on your team. If you're a sole lone wolf and you run solo, you still have lenders on your team. You know, our lender comes to our meeting every single week, our team meeting. We have one main team meeting. We meet almost every day, kind of just what I call stand-up meetings. You should have mainly stand-up meetings where you're kind of standing up, hey, what's going on with this, 5 minutes at the most. But we have one meeting that lasts a half hour, 45 minutes early in the week where we go through the week and our open houses and our scheduling. Our lender is at that meeting. So, hey, what's going on with this? What's going on with that? Escrow office official, company, escrow company, your escrow rep. Our escrow rep, because they do supply some things for us, obviously brochure boxes, booties. Our escrow rep not only supplies us, you know, great tools and information, but she goes right into our closet and say, hey, do they need more brochure holders? And she basically brings them in. We don't even have to ask. So they're definitely a part of our team. Transaction coordinator I talked about, inspectors, handymans, painters, home warranty, home cleaners, window, carpet cleaners, and stagers. Those are all people that are part of your team that you're not necessarily paying except for maybe transaction coordinators. But within a team, you can have all these different parts of a team. I've seen flow charts of, you know, agents have 30 or 40, 50 agents. They basically have an office. They have like 10 administrative staff. Again, if that works for them, that's great. There's not one size fits all. For me, I'd rather stay small, keep the expenses low, where we keep more of the money. So right now, if our team basically generates, I'm just going to use the example, $1 million. Let's say your team generates $1 million. And you're keeping, let's say, 80% of that. So you have $200,000 expenses, $800,000 goes to your team. Well, I know I can literally spend another $500,000 to bring in $1 million more dollars. Tomorrow I could do that. And people would say, well, geez, why don't you do that? Because you know what? I don't want to work as hard. I don't mind working hard right now because on my team, 93% of what we make comes directly to us as agents. If I wanted to spend $500,000 to make an extra $1 million, yeah, that's an extra $500,000 coming to the team. But I don't want to work that much harder to make that extra $1 million to only get 50 cents on a dollar. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So, team building. If you're on a team, because when we talk about team building, we're going to talk about if you're going to be a team leader or part of a team, but this is what you should look for, and this is what you should expect no matter what side you're on, whether you're a team leader or a team member. It must be a win-win-win. It's got to be a win for the company and maximize new or non-productive agents' potential. Early on, when everyone was building teams, you guys know it that have been in the business for a while, the companies came in, and there were some companies that said you cannot have a team. That was one of the ways that Keller Williams grew so fastly, was they really embraced teams, where a lot of offices didn't allow you to have teams. The reason why is if I'm on a 90% split, because I'm a high producer, and I take a brand new agent that's on a 60 or 70% split and bring them into my team, that agent now goes from a 60, 70% split to a 90% split. And some companies were kind of, couldn't see out, and they basically said, no, we're not going to allow that anymore. Well, the way I built teams with my company, because that was what the company I was with at the time felt, and I went to them and said, here's the thing is you can make 30% off that agent, and they'll probably be out of the business a year from now, as almost 90% of the agents are. Or you can make 10% off those agents. You can make 10 deals making 10%, or you can make one deal making 30%. Well, bottom line, what is better for the company? So it needs to be a win for the company also. I know a lot of agents looking at the win for them and they're looking at the win for their team member. But remember, someone still has to pay the rent. Someone still has to keep the doors open. So it's got to be a win not only for the company, but for the agent and also for you as a team leader. The way it's a win for the agents are being paid to learn the business while they build their business. 90% of agents leave the business after the first year. I think it's within the first 5 years they leave the business, mainly due to financial reasons. I will tell you right now, out of those, I think the actual figure is 87% of agents that leave the business, half of them should leave the business. It's just not the right business for them. But the other half that leave the business are good agents, and they would have been great agents if they had the financial wherewithal to be able to stay in the business. So that's the way I structured my team, which we'll get in depth a little bit more, is to bring on that agent, and I'm actually paying them and teaching them the business so they can pay the bills while they grow their business. But here's the win for the team leader. Receives assistance without being tied down to monthly obligations. So I bring a team member onto my team. I'm paying them a little bit of a percentage out of everything I make. And they're basically my right-hand person. And after the first year, agents become a profit center for the team leader. So in the first year, and I'm going to go in depth in a little bit, but in the first year, if I'm paying that agent $30,000 or $40,000, they're doing the same work as, i.e. an assistant, not a licensed agent, would be doing for me. But they're also, maybe they make me an extra, $20,000. So really it's only cost me $10,000 to $20,000. And after the first year, maybe I'm paying them $30,000 and they're making me $50,000. So not only are they helping me with my business, but they actually become a profit center. So if you want to learn something, go to a seminar. If you want to master it, teach it to 10 people. That's the greatest part about being a team. That's the greatest part of what I do here is, if you're just on your own and you're learning stuff as it comes in, you'll learn stuff. You can go to a seminar and you'll learn it. But now if you bring it back to your team and you're teaching it to your team members, you'll master it. That's the way you master things, is by teaching it to other people. That's the greatest part about being a team leader. Here's team responsibilities. Responsibilities for the team agent. Co-farm with the team leader. Anytime an agent came in, we would pick a geographical farm and co-farm with that. They'd be a buyer's agent. They're assistant to the team leader. In other words, I use the word assistant. I don't call them assistant, but just so you guys understand, they're assisting me with all of my business. Someone who I would normally be paying $20 an hour for. They do the escrow control office manager. They can do also transaction coordinator if you don't have an outside transaction coordination person. They can be at inspections, be at appraisals. Here's responsible for the team leader. You have to spend time with the agent and teach them everything. That is so tough sometimes, because I understand that it takes me 3 times as long to tell someone how to do something than if I just did it myself, because as solo agents and as team leaders, we get drawn in that rabbit hole sometime that, hey, no one can do anything as good as I can. That's how I always felt. And I discovered there's a lot of people can do a lot of stuff a lot better than I can, because I don't have the time to be able to do it. So you have to spend time and teach them, even though it's going to take you longer in the beginning. Here's the greatest part about it. Once you teach them and they get into the point where they're making you so much money, you don't want them to do the $20 an hour work anymore. You bring in someone else and it frees them up. And what you do, now you have them teach the new agent. So you don't have to go through it again. And you help the agent develop the team farm and the team business. So again, responsibilities for the agent, responsibilities for the leader. How do you compensate those agents? Many, many different ways to compensate. I'm going to tell you how we've done it. And we've run one of the most successful teams for 25 years. We have agents on and off the team. Is profit sharing. When I'm sitting down with 3 or 4 agents in my office, when I had a transaction close, every agent got paid something, even if it was minimal, because I wanted everyone to be excited about any closing. So everyone got paid, obviously in different percentages. If it was a co-listing, it might have been a 50-50. If it was they were helping me with my business, it might have been $5,000 or $10,000, or 5 or 10%, or whatever it was. And be consistent from agent to agent. You know, I had a high producing agent come to me, and the way we worked on my team, it was like a 50-50 split when they were brand new, 60-40 and 70-30. And this agent was doing a lot of business. She was basically on her own. She came to me and said, I want an 80-20. And even though it might have made sense to keep her for that 80-20, what I tell the other agents that are also accomplished agents that are on a 70-30. So you have to understand, sometimes agents do have to leave. And be flexible in individual transactions. What I mean there is we'd have some transactions where an agent, if they just helped me with my minimal type stuff, they'd make 5%. If it was a co-listing, they'd make 50%. But maybe they helped me more than just minimally. But it wasn't quite a co-listing. Well, then maybe it was a 25-75. So you have to be flexible on each transaction. You definitely have your sets. Here's where you make 5%, here's you make 25%, here you make 50%. But you have to be flexible within that on transaction to transaction. Sliding commission schedule. We talked about it when a new agent, and the only people I always had on my team were always brand new agents or been in the business less than a year. The reason why is because I had systems in place, and my system doesn't work by bringing in experienced agents when we go through it in a second. See the whole picture and then reevaluate on an annual basis. Here's what happens, and I would tell agents this. Sometimes agents would come to me after 3 months and they haven't sold a house yet, but they've been making 5% or 10% on all my transactions. And I go, Joe, I feel so bad, I haven't contributed anything. And I always say, just remember that in 3 years when you're paying me all this money. But what happens is if you dissected every single transaction, it's not fair to someone. So when you have a 95-5 or 90-10 or 75-25 or 50-50, if you dissected that, maybe I did more work than was worth 50%. Maybe they did more work. But if you put everyone under a microscope, everyone's going to be unfair to someone. So I would always tell the agents, hey, don't focus on every single one. Evaluate it on an annual basis. So you look at it at the end of the year and say, hey, this is how hard I work, this is how much I make. If you're not happy with that, then come to the team leader, and either they can say, hey, this is the way you need to generate more income. Maybe you didn't do as many open houses. Hey, maybe you're right, you're helping me more than I thought. We'll change it. But at least no sooner than 6 months. But I've had agents before that every single transaction or every other transaction, they come to me and say, Joe, I thought I should have made more on this one because of this, or I thought I should have made more on this one because of this. And then all the ones they didn't come to me, I had to remind them saying, you know what, you did nothing on this transaction and you still made money. And they got the point really quickly. If they didn't, then we got them on another career path. Reevaluate, understand that agents grow out of a team. That's one of the things that in the beginning, 30 years ago when I had started building teams, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be my team forever, and this is the way, it is, and it doesn't work that way. You basically, that person, if you do a great job of training that agent and they're a go-getter, chances are they're going to leave the team. On my team, any place from 4 to 7 years is how long a person stays on my team. But during that time, it's been great for them. They've learned the business and they've made me a lot of money. So it's definitely a win-win. And cut your losses quickly. You can kind of tell when you hire, we're going to talk about hiring a little bit. When you hire wrong, you kind of know it. Just cut your losses. And if you want to tell people, hey, we're going to have like a 6-month probationary type period to see how it works. Now, what I did in a lot of cases, everyone I brought on my team, I either kind of knew, like sometimes they didn't even have their license, but I knew them personally and said, hey, you're going to be great. Or they were doing our open houses, they were a new agent working in the office, and the team, we had an opening on the team, and so we already knew that agent, and we'd bring them on the team. But there were a couple times where we made a couple mistakes, but you have to cut your losses quickly. And again, that's the great part about working with my sons, is my sons have worked with me now for 10 and 15 years, and they would have left my team, years ago if they were just kind of on their own, but if they left my team, their mom would get really mad at them, so they don't. So team leader. Leadership can't be taught, it can only be earned. So when you're sitting down and you're bringing someone on your team, you're the team leader. They're a team member, you're a team leader. Sometimes when I do this, people want to know, hey, what do you use as a contract? We don't have a contract. Because if I ever get to a point that I don't think they should be on the team, or they don't think they should be on the team, I've come to that same conclusion probably too. So we just cut the losses. Here's the greatest part, is everyone that's been on my team and has left my team, even sometimes it wasn't in the best circumstances that they left, I'm friends with every one of those. Have you guys heard the testimonials of some of my past agents? Because I learned that, okay, you know what, sometimes people grow out of a team. So when they leave, you know, we can stay friends, and I always wish them nothing but the best. But when you're a team leader, you have to define the outcome. You have to let them know, what do you expect out of this relationship? What do you expect out of the business? And set team up with the right tools. You got to give them the tools. You can't just bring someone on the team and then just, you know, tell them to get on the phone and call people. You have to give them the tools. You have to define the outcome, give them the tools, and then you have to delegate responsibility and accountability. If you delegate responsibility sometimes, and I had this issue early in my career, and if you talk to my sons, they'll probably tell you I still have it, where I'm kind of a control guy. And it's like, hey, you guys do this, but then I'm like sitting over their shoulder, and they said, Dad, I got it. And you know, sometimes I have to walk away. Well, not sometimes, I should walk away all the time. And you know, they have to have the accountability to it too. So if it doesn't get done, I'm not gonna sit there and rag on them. I'm just gonna sit there and go, hey, you know what? You know, it didn't get done, learn from it, and then move on. So you have to give them responsibility, and you have to give them accountability, and just know, we talked about it in the workshop, failure is part of succeeding. It's part of the path, and you have to allow them to fail. You know, with my son especially, I would dive in, they'd have something going south, it was gonna cost them $2,000 to $3,000. I dived in, I saved the day, and sometimes I had to stand back. The hardest thing in the world was stand back, and they'd come to me and go, Dad, what'd I do? And I go, you know, write a check, because you're gonna have to learn from this one. I can't help you out. You're the CEO of your business. Hire to roles and responsibility, and hire the job, not the person. Sometimes we sit there and go, we really like that person, but if they're really analytical and you're trying to hire someone as a marketing person, no matter how much you like them, they're not going to be the right person. So hire the roles and the responsibility and the job, not the person, no matter how nice they might be. Hire to your culture. You know, you'll see in the next slide, you've seen it in the workshop, what our core values are of a team. And the number one thing is integrity. So when you hire to your core values, when anybody that comes in my office or I'm interviewing someone, they see it right up on the wall. And always keep social media at the top of mind when hiring. The reason why is because the last two people I brought on the team, remember we talked about I wanted to widen the funnel. And I wanted to really bring in more social media. We were doing a decent job, but I wanted to bring in more, and I wanted to bring more online leads and social media on. So when I'm hiring someone, I looked that they had some sort of background in that. That was important. So what you want to do is hire to your weakness. Now, my weakness, being in my 60s and doing this for 40 years, if I have a weakness in this business, it's social media. So I'm hiring to my weakness. I don't need another one to teach me time blocking. I've got that down pretty well, but I need to hire to my weakness. So don't hire to your strength, hire to your weakness. And mine was social media, and that's why I hired the last couple of people like I did. This is what's in my office. Integrity, service, excellent, growth. Integrity beyond everything. Service, excellent, and growth. We're always trying to grow. But so when they walk in, this thing's like 2 feet tall, it's above our windows, and they know the core values that we run as a team. You need to have your core values. You don't need to just put them up in foot-high letters, but everyone needs to know what your core values are, you know, on your team.